folks. Happy Friday and welcome to the Freedom from the Press podcast. My name is Jason Robertson and I'm here with my partner in crime.
Back in the chair, Todd Peterson. Thanks for joining us, folks. And Jason, I owe you an apology. I owe our audience an apology. And I did pop Kagan Girl in chat because she was ready to go before the broadcast began. We love our Rumble community. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, head over to Rumble, go to the American Tribune. But Jason, I was in Jamaica last week, first trip away from the kids, and I had such a good time. I woke up last Friday and I was convinced it was Thursday. I'll let our audience figure out what I was doing in Jamaica, but I had a great time. I had no idea what day of the week it was down there, so it is my fault we did not go live last week, but I missed you, Jason. I missed our audience. It is good to be back.
Yeah, I gotta say it was funny. I was like last Friday, you know, you're sitting there. It's what was it, Valentine's Day, and I'm getting ready for the podcast. I'm settling in. I'm like, where's Todd? Where's my partner? He's like, I'm just about to get in a boat. And he's like, I'm like, how good a time are you having in Jamaica? Todd may have participated in activities that may or may not be legal in the United States of America.
No, I'm not going to confirm or deny. A good time was had by all. We got Fally in the chat. Good morning, Fally. Welcome back. Can I say this, though, Jason? I talked about this on my podcast on Tuesday. I was randomly searched leaving Jamaica. You and I, Jason, when we traveled to Orlando this last fall, took a little business trip. You and I had TSA agents at the gate in Chicago, and they pulled us out of the line boarding our plane. This was after security. They pulled us out. They went through all of our bags, and we're like, this is random. I've never seen TSA before at the gate. We already did this, guys. I got pulled out again after security at the gate in Jamaica, and they said, you were randomly selected. They took all my stuff out of my bag, laid it all on the table in front of every other passenger, and that's 2 times in a row I got randomly searched at the gate after security. Jason, I'm kind of proud of this. I'm probably reading into this too much. I think I'm on a list.
You know, it's funny you say that because we shared it in our internal chat. There is actually an FBI report you can fill out that you can send in that can confirm whether or not you're on the FBI list. And we've joked, like, one of my biggest claim to fame is when Mike Lindell got arrested at the Hardee's a few years ago. I was just working with them doing scheduling some of their team for trainings. And so him and I had been texting back and forth. And so, like, one of the last texts before they confiscated his phone was me and him going back and forth. And I'm like, oh, that's going to get me on a list. If all the random stuff I say on the internet does it, that is spectacular.
I am honored, Fally. If I'm on a list, I'm saying the right stuff.
Absolutely. Oh, hey, we got Thomas over from Maine.
On Facebook, thanks for watching.
Hey, you know, we got to do a better job of this too. Folks, Todd and I do this show every Friday. Todd does a show Tuesday, Thursday. I do Wayne Dupree podcast Monday through Thursday. But we do it to get the truth out, to engage with our awesome audience. If you are tuning in, one thing you can do, hit the thumbs up, hit the like, hit the comment, hit the share. That helps us get reach. We encourage you, too, to share this podcast, especially if you have those normie Democrat friends, because pre-Trump, Todd and I weren't Republicans. We hated the Republican Party. We love Donald Trump. We love America First. We love all that stuff. But our content, like, we rip on Mitch McConnell just as much as Chuck Schumer, which thank God he's retiring. But like right now, we're in this weird disinformation space. And Todd and I were talking about it before the podcast. Like, if you're only tuning into mainstream media, you aren't even understanding what's going on. And like, you can't even conceptualize it. And that's part of what we're going to talk about today is how we continue breaking through. And I got to say, Todd, Trump 2.0, for me, it's a 10 out of 10. I would give it a higher number, but I'm thinking the Democrats, they could have not done all the shenanigans in 2020, whatever your opinion of. We're on a couple platforms like Facebook and YouTube that we got to be careful what we say. Tune into the last half hour Rumble only, where we'll be a little more direct. But yeah, I got to think they could have had Trump 2020 with Democrat control of the House and Senate, Mike Pence as VP, completely set, you know, his administration full of all these plants. Instead, they gave him 4 years. They pissed him off by having the FBI search his wife's underwear drawer, throw all his friends in jail, try to throw him in jail. And then they gave him 4 years to filter out all the wannabes. Because if you stuck with Trump for those 4 years, like you're either like deep in the FBI plant or you are a true believer in what Donald Trump's trying to do. And so now you got Trump 2.0 a month in. He has done more than any Republican president in my lifetime, Todd.
Combined, it's exceeded all expectations. And I did tweet this out this morning. I said something is wrong with you intellectually and morally and spiritually if you're not on board with everything that's happened. Like in 5 weeks, Jason, I still have to remind myself and pinch myself. Are we dreaming? It's only been 5 weeks. We have 4 years of this. Securing the border, deporting the illegal criminals, the violent illegal criminals. We're going to have peace overseas in Europe and the Middle East. We have we're talking about abolishing the income tax now. That just came out this week. We're rooting out all of this corruption thanks to DOGE, and people are protesting this and they're mad at this. The only thing you can say is it's not going far enough. I want DOGE to cut half of the government employees. I want to abolish all taxes. I will accept that. But to be like, he's not doing enough or he's doing too, like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, it's funny too, because like pre-election on the Wayne Dupree podcast, like Wayne and I would go back and forth. He's like, oh, we need to root out government corruption. And I'm like, we need to cut 70% of the federal government. I'll settle for 50, but we need 70%. He'd be like, that's a lot of government. I'm like, 70% isn't even enough, but that's what I want to start. And he looked at me like I'm crazy. I think Donald Trump's going in with the same, with much of the same energy. And this week, I got to say, Todd, I don't know, the one I was waiting for, the one confirmation, Government Gangsters, Kash Patel. If you have never read the book, I actually got it from him. I got an autographed copy of the Kash Patel Government Gangsters. Go read it. What it exposes that happened in Russiagate is going to make your blood boil and your hair curl. And Kash Patel is now in charge of the FBI. Let's freaking go.
I got to be honest, Jason. I can't believe he got everybody. Kash, Tulsi, RFK. I can't believe RFK got through. But he has the entire cabinet he wanted, we wanted. Like, if you had told me in October, okay, we'll elect Trump. This is the wish list for his cabinet. Let's see what happens. Like, he got everybody.
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought this week, or the last 2 weeks, where it was RFK Jr., Tulsi, and Kash. I'm like, oh, we'll be lucky to get 2 out of 3. But here's what I think. Here's what I think Trump did in hindsight is, if you notice, he puts DOGE in. He has a lot of people that aren't caught in the muck, and he's going after USAID, right? Now, USAID is a cesspool. We've covered this on previous episodes of Democrat corruption. It just came out this week. They gave, what was it, $2 billion to some Stacey Abrams community outreach thing. Folks, that is just Democrat voter registration or Democrat voter outreach. They're using government funds, giving it to that gap-toothed idiot who thought she was governor of Georgia, and she is just going to go out to run Democrat campaigns. They're using federal tax dollars for that. She had these LLCs and these NGOs that had $100, and they're like, here's $2 billion. It is so corrupt. In fact, I will take it so far. If we shut off the government money, I bet there's none of this Green New Deal stuff at all. There's no Democrat Party, because even the donations that are going to the Democrat Party, when they say, oh, we have all these small market donors, how many times have we seen James O'Keefe go to them and go to some poor old lady like, hey, it looks like you've donated $25,000, like $50 at a time. And they're like, what are you talking about? I've never voted for the Democrat. I mean, I bet if you shut off that money pipeline, your Democrat Party would virtually cease to exist. But how it worked with the rhinos, Trump's sitting there, and one of our favorite stories was when he had the foreign leader, I think it was the ISIS guy, and he slid over a picture of his house and just said, here you go, and didn't say nothing. I think all the rhinos, Trump's like, yeah, we're over at USAID. We might be going to the Pentagon next. And they're like, okay, Trump, what nominee do we need to confirm? I'm in. Like, yep. Because they don't want the Scud missile lined up at them.
Love it. Jason, I want to pause and go through our Facebook comments. Hopping on Facebook right now. We got Beth. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. Go Trump. We got Phyllis over on Facebook. truly a blessing in disguise. I think referencing your 2020. Yeah, I'm with you, Jason. I am kind of glad that 2020 happened the way it did because we get Trump 2.0, got Jimmy, we got Mike, we got Angie, we got Agnes, we got the whole crew over on Facebook. Folks, head over to Rumble, though. You can catch the show every Friday and get the bonus content if you head over to Rumble because we do cut the stream. Zuck has opened things up on Facebook. He has given money to the Trump campaign. We still don't trust what we can say on Facebook, so we do cut the broadcast short and do a Rumble exclusive last half hour. But thanks for watching on Facebook. Thanks for commenting. Sandy's in there. Keep digging. Yeah, by all means, keep digging away. And the amazing thing, the more Trump exposes, the more Democrats are shrieking and hyperventilating and just, oh no, he can't do that. Trump's such a bad guy for exposing the corruption. And your head is exploding trying to figure this out. Like, you're mad at the guy exposing the corruption and not the corruption itself. Like, at a certain point, I cannot put myself in the shoes of these normie Dems out there. I was just telling you a story, Jason. I got family members that were out protesting in Minnesota this week against Project 2025. And it's like, you're still mad at Trump? How are you not mad at the corruption that Trump's uncovering?
You know, it's funny you say that. And folks, you'll have to let us know in the chat if you're encountering this. So in my sphere of friends, I live in Minnesota, right? So there are a lot of Democrats in Minnesota. And some are what I call normies, not the crazy blue-haired cat lady, but like normal people that voted for the Democrats back when it was what we thought were fairly normal people. Turns out they weren't. You know, like Bill Clinton and Al Gore. I mean, they turned out to be loons. We didn't know that at the time. But anyways, like they are like, we just want, yeah, Dennis hit the nail on the head.
Thanks for that comment, Dennis. Honestly, that's where I land.
Right. And that was the point I was making a roundabout way of getting to is Trump is up there and like normal Democrats, not your crazies, are like, okay, the guy won. He won the popular vote. He won convincingly. Let's let him see what he can do. Like, how bad's it going to be? No, he's not going to be a dictator. They know that's idiotic to think. Only the most brainwashed of the brainwashers still clinging to that. And we should start with that Trump video about all the stuff they've exposed, because some of this is reaching through to normal people. And here's what you'll find when we go through this list. Like, they're going to pick the one or the two things that maybe they got a little wrong, and that's all they're going to talk about. But check out this list of what they've been exposing.
That. And then, where's the money being spent, right? Let's go into that for just a second. $520 million for a consultant on the environment. It's called Environmental, Social, and Governance. Investments in Africa and mobilize private sector resources. $520 million. Somebody got $520 million for an environmental, sounds like an environmental study. I've always been one that paid a lot of money for my environmental studies, but I paid like $50,000, not $520 million. $520 million for ESG. $25 million to promote biodiversity, conservation, and promote licit livelihoods by developing socially responsible behavior in the country of Colombia. Well, it's nice, $25 million to go into Colombia for something that nobody ever heard of. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. $40 million. $42 million for John.
What is a sedentary migrant, by the way? Are we talking like, is this a euphemistic way to say you're in a wheelchair or like housebound, like sedentary migrant?
I don't know. I was tweeting about that a little bit earlier today because one of the Democrat senators, they had this struggle session last night where they were we need to tax billionaires more. And he was breaking down the amount of assistance that a lot of these Latinos, people from Mexico or whatnot, immigrants are getting. And it was like 30% of the Latinos are on public assistance compared to 20% of Americans. And then they were like 35% are on Medicaid compared to like 18% of Americans. And I'm like, wait a second. We're bringing in like their hard luck cases so that we can pay for their welfare. Like, this is crazy.
And just to put these numbers in perspective, so Trump began with $520 million getting wasted in some nonsense here. in the context of the entire government budget, I'm just going to say $6 trillion for this year. This is rounding error. It's only 0.0086%. So in the whole scheme of things, folks, this is how they get away with such waste. They're like, $520 million, we'll throw it here because it's a drop in the bucket for our overall budget. But then you add all of that up and you get to where we're at nowadays. They're like, yeah, we can throw 500 million here, 25 million here. $25 million doesn't even register for your bureaucrats in DC. But those are your tax dollars. If you pay in 20,000 a person, let's say, do you know how many people that is to get up to $520 million? How many Americans went to work all year? And from January to April, every single penny they earned went to the federal government, and that got siphoned off into this nonsense here. It is outrageous. And again, if you're arguing against this as some Democrat, like my lunatic family members, like, oh, we got to go protest Trump in rural Minnesota, they're saying I am fine having my tax dollars stolen from me and then spent on this nonsense. Like, who has taken the position that it's okay that my tax dollars, number one, get taken from me, and number two, get wasted on this? It's bonkers.
Well, and here's the important point to understand too, not just, okay, let's say that money really goes to these things. Where does the money really go? The money goes into a left-wing organization that employs, like, there are American organizations that are sent to these other countries to do that. So all of a sudden you got 50 left-wingers who got ridiculous degrees who are earning a salary to implement these programs. They are all then producing zero for America, and they're donating to Democrats. And then all of a sudden they bring in these politicians for speaking gigs. Hey, Elizabeth Warren, come speak at our thing. Here's 20 grand. And all this money that you're hearing, every time you hear that number, understand a very small percentage actually lands in what they say it's going to land on. The rest is just consumed by either Democrat voters or Democrat politicians or Democrat whatever. And it starts to make sense when you draw that conclusion. Like, you think of all these ridiculous degrees all these people got, gender studies or whatever, like they could never make it in the real world because they don't produce anything. They don't raise chickens so that egg prices can come down. They don't do roofing. They don't harvest crops. They just sit there collecting these ridiculous salaries. And technically they're not government salaries because they're not a government employee, but it's government money that pays for all this. And like I say, as I start to see that and understand the scope of it, it's like the entire Democrat apparatus doesn't exist without government money.
Wild thought right there. Jason, I got to pause again for our Facebook audience. We got
Denise.
It's
on fire over there.
Facebook is on fire today. We got Denise writing. We got Rayleigh. We got Judson. We got Chuck. We have too many comments to really spend time on, but Robert and Gina and Jerry. Folks, thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting here. Let's get more Trump, though. He's going to run down more numbers here.
Hopkins, great place to research and drive social and behavior change in Uganda. 42 million. What about us? What about social change in our country? $70 million for a center at Purdue to research university-sourced, evidence-based solutions to developmental challenges. I mean, these are massive numbers on things that nobody ever heard about. $10 million for Mozambique voluntary medical male circumcisions. $10 million for circumcisions in another country.
Todd, when you write your tax check, say, God, I hope that guy in Mozambique appreciates that circumcision I'm paying for.
$10 million. That's 5,000 of you Americans out there if you're paying 20 grand a year. I think my math is right on that. You all contributed. Congratulations. Every penny that you paid into the system this year helped circumcise men in Mozambique.
Yeah, congratulations, Linda, over on Facebook. What a waste of our money. Maybe some dude in Mozambique will send you a thank you letter. Thank you for paying for my circumcision, Linda.
Do you think we'll get a thank you letter?
I think not.
$9.7 million for UC Berkeley to develop a cohort of Cambodian youth with enterprise-driven skills. In other words, let's teach them something about enterprise. What about our people?
So I like how he asked that question. And again, this should be the only response. Why not Americans? If you're a Democrat voter, I'm going to set aside the politicians because they're just going to be corrupt and they're going to politic all day long. But if you're a normal Democrat voter out there And you have to defend, why are we developing Cambodian youth entrepreneurial skills when we have Americans here with your tax dollars? Why aren't American tax dollars, if they're going to be spent, I'd rather they not get spent at all, but if they're going to be spent, you're arguing you would rather help develop Cambodians or Mozambicans and not Americans? Like, again, something is broken in you if that is your position.
Absolutely.
Can't we teach them about enterprise? $2.3 million for strengthening independent voices in Cambodia. $32 million to the Prague Civil Society Center, which is a very liberal group of people. Wonder how much of that money came back to the people that approved it. $14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $486 million to the Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening, including $22 million for inclusive and participatory political process in Moldova, and $21 million for voter turnout in India. Well, why are we giving $21 million to India? They got a lot of money. They're one of the highest taxing countries in the world in terms of us. We can hardly get in there because their tariffs are so high. I have a lot of respect for India. I have a lot of respect for the Prime Minister. He just left, as you know, 2 days ago. But we're giving $21 million for voter turnout. It's voter turnout in India. What about, like, voter turnout here? Oh, we've done that, I guess. We did $500 million, didn't we? It's called the lockboxes. $20 million for fiscal federalism in Nepal. Listen to these numbers. This is all fraud. $19 million for biodiversity conservation in Nepal. $1.5 million for voter confidence. We want to give them confidence in Liberia. $14 million for social cohesion in Mali. $2.5 million for inclusive democracies in South Africa. $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well. They're doing a lot better than we do in the schools, aren't they? $2 million to develop sustainable recycling models to increase socioeconomic cohesion among marginalized communities in Kosovo and Escali and in Egypt. We're talking about
Yeah, and as Fally writes, that is the tip of the iceberg. I think Donald Trump could have stood up there for hours and just read off all the different figures. How is everyone not pissed off at this? That this has just been standard practice the entire time this country's existed.
Now, I'm going to say, here's a big ask for people that have listened or watched this so far. Share this. Share that clip with your Democrat friends. Send it to them in Messenger if you're on Facebook. Copy the link. Say, hey, you can ignore the two screaming men from Minnesota, but just every Democrat voter needs to see this. Republicans need to see it too. Best case scenario, Democrats are defending this spending. They're saying, like, circumcision in Mozambique are really critical. Oh my God, we've got to get voter turnout in India. That's really critical. And best case scenario, Democrats, when they're protesting Elon and DOGE and all that, this is what they're protesting. And who was it? Gary said, maybe because they're profiting from this fraud. I think that's 100%. I think that circumcision program in Mozambique, you got like 3 of them done, right? You gave this money to some doctor NGO who sent money there, and everybody like siphoned off their cut. They donated back to the politicians. They had the politician come give a speech and all that. At the end of the day, you did like 3 of them. You know what I mean? It's just money laundering. It's just a corrupt cesspool of stuff. And Americans are seeing this. And this should be the main story on the mainstream news. It shouldn't be, oh no, Elon Musk is going to steal your social security number. It should be, listen to what this money is being spent on. Look at what they found. And everybody should be like, are you kidding me? Especially taxes are due April 15th. I want my money back, Todd. I want my money back.
You know what? Deborah said the same thing. And it's interesting. So not only are the Democrats defending what's happening, when you say you want your money back, Deborah's kind of foreshadowing where we're going to go next here. You said the same thing here. Should we play Jasmine Crockett? Because when I say, hey, Jasmine, I would like my DOGE dividend, we don't have that clip of Trump, but he's saying, you know what? We found enough money that we can write a check to every American taxpayer to the tune of like $5,000. You get a percent of all the fraud we discovered, and it's your money because you paid in the system. We are going to give you your money back. And again, if you're a normal human being with 2 brain cells at the very least, and you rub them together, you're like, yeah, I should get my money back. That is not the position of these Democrats now. This is, folks, I hope you're sitting down for this. This is absolutely insane.
Now, President Trump says he likes the idea of giving some of the savings from DOGE back to Americans as kind of a dividend. Would you support that?
Listen, he's just telling a lie. He's not the one that had anything to do with the $1,200 refunds that people had during the midst of COVID that was done by a Democratic House and Democratic Senate. Right now, what they're going to do is say, hey, we want to give you a refund, but Congress won't let us because they already know that there's just no money for that. The only reason that those refunds came before was because we were living in different times. This was a time in which hopefully we won't ever go through again. We had a once in a lifetime pandemic. The bad part is that I don't know if it's once in a lifetime because we know that Ebola, unfortunately, was detected right here in New York here recently. And if we continue down this road of getting rid of scientists or deciding that we don't want to rely on experts as it relates to what they're telling us to do, or we don't want to deal with vaccines and medicine in this country, then we may be facing not only our next pandemic, but our next 2, 3, or 4 pandemics because of their incompetence. So no, we are not in the business of giving out money. And honestly, I don't know what $5,000 will do for you.
Oh, I got to play that last part again, folks. The last 10 seconds are priceless.
We're not in the business of giving out money. And honestly, I don't know what $5,000.
Wait, I got to stop it right there. Wait a second. We're not in the business of giving out money. We just watched a video of all the money we're giving out to other countries for stupid things that Trump is stopping, that Democrats are pushing to continue going. Make it make sense. Todd?
You can't make it make sense. Yeah, we are literally, the government exists to hand out money and redistribute money and confiscate your own money to pay whoever. They literally are giving out money. And Jason, little side note, this is a woman who has advocated for, wait for it, reparations for her community. I don't know about you, but that sounds like giving out money too.
Yeah, every time Jasmine comes around, she's like, we're going to give out more money. We need to give out. And suddenly now we're not. Anyways, let's go to the next thing, which is what I know you wanted to play.
Well, can I just say too, like if you're a Democrat, you live to give out money. They can only steal someone else's money and give it to their voters. That is the entire premise of the Democrat Party, is to steal from someone else and give it to their next voting block. It's also insane here. But we got to comment too on the condescension. $5,000 isn't going to mean a lot. I don't know about you, Jason. I don't even care if it was $1. That's my money that the government stole from me at gunpoint. If it's $1 or $5,000, I want my money back. I want it in my bank account and not in Mozambique.
Yeah. In fact, let's play that little comment again.
Money. And honestly, I don't know what $5,000 will do for you.
Okay, folks, let us know in the chat if you just got $5,000 tomorrow, what would that do for you? That would pay some bills. That could start my grandbaby's college fund. That could pay for my doctor bills for my upcoming kidney stone surgery. Like, I could find lots of use for $5,000. But like Todd said, that is my money. That is not your money. Like, are you kidding me?
And then I got to move on from Jasmine, Jason. But then she also talked about how the COVID relief stimmy checks that we kept getting for $1,200, that was okay. Notice she was like, that was the Democrat House that gave you $1,200 of printed federal dollars. This was not a tax refund. This was just us printing money out of thin air to give to you. But now when Trump wants to give you your own money back, somehow that's bad. Like, what is her argument? That we are good for printing $1,200 for every American? And Trump is bad for returning $5,000 of their own money? I don't know. What is it, good or is it bad, Jasmine, to give people money?
Right.
Man, Facebook, Jason, is just blowing up with comments.
I was going to say we should talk about Facebook real quick for a sec. So when we started broadcasting on these pages that you're watching on. It was like, well, a little over a year ago, year and a half ago. And it was funny because we had to be very careful with what we said because the fact checkers, Facebook, and we're building our community over on Rumble. We love the people on Rumble. In fact, Paul Reese just checked in. Francis is over there. Fally, Gay Gun Girl. We're going to encourage everybody, like, go to Rumble. If you aren't familiar, it's kind of like YouTube, rumble.com, find the American Tribune. That's where we're at. But I got to give credit to Zuck. He said he would make things better. And the last 2-3 weeks, he has lived up to that promise. And we still don't push the envelope on Facebook because we don't know how far we can go. But I got to say, so far, I've been liking it. Hey, shout out to Paul Reese, too. SplitRockCoffee.com. Todd, do we have a promo code for that?
Folks, go to splitrockcoffee.com, subscribe and save today, and use promo code TODD10, that is me, TODD 10, to get instant savings. And I don't know about you, Jason, I hate going to the grocery store. You don't have to. Again, if you subscribe and save, you can get freshly ground coffee delivered to your doorstep every single month. Freshness guaranteed. And Jason, you're a big breakfast blend guy now, I understand.
Yeah, you know, my wife started drinking a little coffee. She's working from home now, and she had some health stuff, so we had to change some things up in the house. But she doesn't like the really dark roast, so I started getting lighter roast. And surprise to me, there is more caffeine in light roast coffee than there is dark roast. So you get those light roasts, and I'm like, it's
and it
phenomenal.
Tastes better. Yeah, I like light roast just for the taste, and then you get the addition of that caffeine buzz.
Right.
Yeah, Thomas says, I'm not paying income tax anymore. Jason.
Oh, my God. Yeah, the comments. Everybody's got great ideas. Vacations, fixing cars. Like, and Todd and I are self-employed, right? And we're business owners, and we have to physically write our check every year, which if you're just been a W-2er where they get tax withholding and you file your taxes, imagine, like, look at how much you ended up paying the government. So let's say you make 60 grand a year. You probably pay the federal government like 10 grand or 5 grand or whatever. You don't notice it because it's withheld from your check. Imagine sitting down at the kitchen table, writing that check out for $5,000 while you're creating articles and podcasts about sending money to Mozambique for election stuff. And you're like, why am I writing this check? It is ridiculous.
I mean, if you want to do a little tinfoil, Jason, there's a reason they do withholdings, because then you don't notice as much. It's not an accident they just steal your money little by little throughout the year. If every single American had to sit down and write that large lump sum come April, you can guarantee there would be more outrage over the system. And at best, even if all of your tax dollars, 100% of them went to the things they purported to go to, and they were all good things, it would still be a hard pill to swallow. But now as you write your huge check, 5-figure check, and you think, thank goodness that a few guys in Mozambique are going to be cut. It just doesn't sit well anymore.
It does not sit well. And I got to say, there's rumblings. This Jasmine Crockett's been all over. And this is part of what we're going to talk about, too, today is Democrat Party is just completely missing the boat. Like, they still have their hardcores that are like, Trump's a fascist. He's a Nazi. You know, and Trump's egging them on because, like, he had this the picture of him with the crown, like, long live the king and stuff. That's just to needle the really brainwashed. Like, other people just find stuff like that funny. But I got to say, there's talk this Jasmine, they're grooming for bigger office, like a Jasmine Crockett AOC ticket, which I got to say, if that happens, like, hook it up. Like, I am so ready for that.
That would be a dream ticket for us, not for
Oh
them.
my God, look at this comment from Becky. I'm 73 years old, and that would be almost 5 months income for free. Becky, understand the Democrat Party is saying we need to pay for elections in Zimbabwe. We need to pay for circumcisions in whatever country, more so than you being able to pay for your groceries. Hey, we got Dee Dee over on Rumble, too. Dee Dee.
Good morning, Dee Dee.
All right, where do we go next, Todd?
Well, should we do Liz Warren?
Oh, my God, yes.
Man, back-to-back insane Democrats. Sorry, folks. Here we go, Liz.
I'm down here in the basement of the Senate, and I just wanted to share with you a vote we had just now. Tonight, we asked Senate Republicans, is there any millionaire or billionaire rich enough that you don't want to give them a tax cut? This is how they voted. First vote, no tax cuts for people who make more than $10 million in 1 year. Guess how many Republicans voted for that?
Zero.
Zero. So we asked about $500 million, $500 million in 1 year. Still a no for every Republican. Well, surely at $1 billion, these people don't need a tax handout, right? Wrong. Republicans were a no. Just because a vote doesn't pass doesn't mean it doesn't tell us anything. These votes made very clear that the Republican plan is to give tax cuts to the richest people in this country and then pay for those handouts by cutting the programs that we all depend on.
Yes, they should have zero tax cuts. Well, there should be no taxes on anybody, Jason. How about that? I am trying to say things. I am measured right now because there are things that I know we can't say on Facebook or in general. Yes, that is the correct vote, Liz Warren, because none of us should have any income taxes, and cutting programs. If by program you mean $500 million to Serbia or Iraq to indoctrinate those kids over there, I don't see the problem.
Todd, let's start with the fact check. Are either one of us 10 millionaires?
No.
No. Are either one of us 500 millionaires?
No.
No. Are we billionaires?
No.
No. Do I think it's appropriate for me to let the government steal money from you if you make 5 million or 10 million or 50 million or $1 billion? No. Theft is theft is theft. I would rather the money is in the hands of the competent billionaires because I know they're not going to waste it. Like, what do you think these billionaires do? Like, I'm not a huge Zuckerberg fan. I'm not a huge Jeff Bezos fan. How many people work at Amazon, Liz? Like, actually doing things. And even if I think Jeff Bezos is a piece of garbage and I hate him, I don't think that we should steal his money, Liz. No, I just don't. Am
Honestly,
I wrong?
It just comes down to jealousy and covetousness. They want to be rich like Bezos, and they're going to do the next best thing since they cannot replicate his success. They're not smart enough. They're not competent enough. They're just going to go out and steal what he made because that's the best they can do.
Right. Yeah, and it's like, and if you think of all those programs too, all the millions of dollars that have been exposed in DOGE, like none of those are building America. You know, they're not taking that money to go build the Hoover Dam or to make a new steel plant or to let people launch small businesses. They might as well take that money out in the field in Africa and just light it on fire. That's all that's happening, other than you're paying Democrat staffers, Democrat voters, Democrat this or that. And this class warfare that the Democrats are trying to do, like, let's go after billionaires. And like I say, I am not a billionaire, but I don't think we should steal from them any more than we should if you make $100,000 a year or $50,000 a year. It's all theft, Liz. Shut up.
It's all theft. And then even before DOGE happened, we knew government was inefficient. You always talk about the DMV. Why are we taking the hands out of productive citizens and thinking that the government's going to do a better job managing that money? Even if it weren't corrupt, even if it were just there taking your money, it's still not as efficient. And every single job that the federal government pays an employee to do, it's leeching money out of the system. They produce nothing. It exists only because they stole money from somewhere else. I don't know, Jason. I'm over it. I'm out of patience. Like, no to all of this. I am 50-50. I'm feeling pretty good. Trump's going to get rid of the income tax altogether, and then they have nothing to yell about. Oh, tax cuts for the billionaires? Here's a better plan. Tax cuts for everybody.
Right. Well, and like I said earlier, and I'm going to keep hammering this point home, like, you want to tax these billionaires so that you can go give jobs to these idiot Democrats that aren't doing anything productive in society. Because it's funny, if you're on social media, you're seeing all these videos about, oh, they let me go from my DEI training job at the airline, and oh, this is ridiculous. And everybody like outrage in the comments, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Trump's doing that. And then the next thing that same person posts is, oh my God, they're sending all the illegals home. Who's going to do the roofing, or who's going to mow your grass or harvest your crops? And I'm just going, you just complained about all these people getting laid off, and you're complaining not enough people to do jobs. One would think your brain would connect to dots.
Jason, speaking of not connecting dots in your brain, we've got Breeder J trolling us on Facebook. Breeder J has a couple comments here. Says that Trump supporters are literally the dumbest collection of humans in world history. Zinger right there. You stupid double-digit IQ toothless hicks deserve to be even more poor over the next 4 years.
Oh man, but
Boy.
So Breeder J had kind of a weird picture. Like, I always love when people have those generic like images on their profile pictures, because it's like, you want to call me a toothless hick, but you don't even have the balls to put your own picture on your page. Like, really? You don't even have the courage to put your own name. Like, Todd and I are on the internet like 4, 5, 6 times a week with our name and whatnot. Like, and like, you get cowards like this, and like, he hasn't refuted any point. Breeder J, like, do you really want to pay for stuff in Mozambique? Like, you good with that? Like, hey, I love my federal tax dollars going to all this stuff, Breeder J. So yeah. And Fally over on the Rumble, Breeder J, please don't breed.
But okay, Breeder J, this is on you. I have nothing to defend. I fully support Donald Trump. You are taking the position, just so we're clear, Breeder J, you are taking the position. You like foreign endless wars. You like wide open borders that bring in drugs and human trafficking. You like all of your tax dollars getting stolen from you and then redistributed around the world and within the Democrat Party. You're good with all this. You are saying, I like my government to be as corrupt as possible. I like to have American citizens actively harmed when open borders allow all sorts of evil to come into this country. That's what you're saying. But we're
like
the
I
dumb
say, defer to Fally, Breeder J. I hope that name. I mean, what are the odds too? Breeder J is the toothless hick who's never kissed a girl. I mean, I think it's probably in play.
Well, and I was arguing with someone over on X this morning too, because that's what I like to do. I find this engaging and fun, and this is a hobby, just to yell at people on the internet. I was told that I'm a MAGA sheep because I support that Donald Trump is talking about abolishing the income tax. And it's like, even if that's true, even if we accept that premise, what's the alternative? Having Kamala Harris as president, and we know what that would have meant, or Trump not doing this? Like, there is no viable third option here. Either Trump does all these things that are good for the country and for us, and if you're going to call us a sheep for supporting that, the only other options are we have Kamala Harris, and we know she would have been worse at all of this, or Donald Trump doesn't do any of this. Like, what are you trying to claim, Breeder J? What are these Democrat voters trying to say?
Well, and I got to say, I've told this story on the podcast multiple times. My first presidential election I could vote in was Ross Perot, and I proudly voted for Ross Perot. And one of the concepts he ran on is government money is hugely inefficient. Like, if you were going to give somebody $100,000 to start a business or do something, government is the least effective way to spend that $100,000. And, you know, now it's in the trillions and billions. They don't even care about 5 billion, right? And you're better off letting the private sector fill in those gaps. And from that election in 1992 till today, guys like Breeder J can't even conceptualize a world where we could give this money to citizens instead of the government, if you're going to give it to anybody, and they could get an ROI, right? Like Paul Reese, Split Rock Coffee, he's looking for investors. Go on his website. Like, give him money, he will make jobs. He will build a business that will create more taxpayers. Give this money to the government, they will send money out to buy votes. That's it. Nothing is produced. The money's spent, the money's gone. And like, Democrats have been so convinced that you need this horrible thing existing. And when we started doing income tax, it was to prepare for wars and stuff. It wasn't even because we wanted to pay for transgender surgery in Mexico. You know, it's crazy. You can live, you can survive without the federal government. I know many of you don't think you can actually manage to feed your kids and live your life, but it's possible. You can do it.
Well, that's one of the defining characteristics too, Jason. These people rely on the government. They've convinced they need someone else to take care of them. And you can see that in the entire philosophy. I'm a victim because of external forces. They're keeping me down. Someone's oppressing me. I need government to come in and right these wrongs. They have zero free will, zero accountability for themselves. And Jason, I just got to say, the comments here have been amazing. I know this person was trolling us. They got in to make a comment and got out. They'll never hear what we had to say. But man, our audience is incredible. And I love getting derailed like that because it is so fun to go after these just, they're morons. I don't know what to say. Like, if you're not supportive of this program, something is wrong with you.
Something is wrong with you. Todd, what do we do for the last segment here on Facebook, the YouTube, before we go to Rumble Only? I got to say, we got a really funny video to kick off on Rumble Only. So after an hour on all the platforms, Facebook, YouTube, whatnot, we shut her down. We go to Rumble Only, go hang out with our peeps over there. Hey, by the way, we got subscribers now. You can do the subscription thing for like $5 a month if you're so inclined over on the Rumble. But yeah, we got a super funny video that this dude says it better than we can say it.
Actually,
So,
Jason, when we get over to Rumble, I think we should give a shout out to our subscribers. That'd be pretty fantastic. It's $5 a month, folks. It doesn't send our kids to college or anything. It's a nice little gesture, nice little token of your support for us, and appreciate you doing that. And Jason, I do just want to say, because I have never seen our Facebook audience so engaged, I just want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching the program. Thanks for engaging in the comments section. We have such a smart audience here, and I love how everyone just hammered Breeder Jay. Everyone is so on point, but thanks for choosing our show. You got so many options out there, and I mean this sincerely. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching, commenting. The more you're engaged, too, the more the algorithm, I think, likes our show. I know we're saying, some things that are a little unorthodox here in far left big tech world, but everything that you're doing out there is helping our program as well. So thank you for tuning in.
yeah. Do we wrap up with Chris Cluey?
Oh, see, I was going to go to CNN because I kind of
let's go to CNN.
I kind of want to do this because that Breeder Jay watches CNN, and then he got big mad and triggered when Burchett is over here shutting down this insanely woke host.
This is
Can you hear me, Jason? Can we go to CNN?
Let's go to CNN.
Hold on. I want to go to this question because, again, it's not a question of whether waste should be rooted out of the government. So many people agree with that. But now we're seeing it's the way it's being done. The government is trying to claw back several employees who oversaw nuclear weapons after they were fired. They realized, we made a mistake. We need staffers who oversee nuclear weapons. A professor at the University of Maryland, Don Kettle, who specializes in civil service, told the Washington Post that, yes, the government is likely full of wasteful bloat, but said a clumsy fix is worse than no fix at all, saying it's like going to a meat market, getting a piece of steak and trying to cut out the fat with a sledgehammer. That would only make a mess of the meat. Do you think, Congressman, that is a fair point, that the way this is being done is clumsy rather than methodical?
Again, you're upset about you're attacking the message carrier, not the results. You talk about nuclear secrets. You had a person who was in charge of nuclear secrets, a man who dressed up as a woman, would go into the airport and steal women's luggage, was overseeing those nuclear secrets under the Biden administration. And I never heard y'all say a peep about that. Again, man.
I don't know anything about that. I'll be transparent.
Elon Musk.
Wait.
Well,
we all know about that.
Now let's put this in perspective. We can pull up the picture of the guy. I'm sure our audience has seen it. It was this cross-dressing bald. I don't even know if he's a tranny. I think he's just a weird cross-dresser.
Cross-dresser fetish dude.
Yeah, fetish dude. And he got arrested for stealing women's luggage. And he got fired. And first, the storm hit when they appointed him to some nuclear something or other. And then when he got fired for it, it was all over. You have a host on CNN who has never heard of it, supposedly. Like, this was one of the biggest stories like 2-3 years ago. Like, this was huge. And is this a picture of him?
Lots of pictures.
Yeah. How on earth? So if you're sitting there, and this is another segment to like show to your Democrat friends, like this clown they put in charge of some big job in the Biden administration. And then he got arrested for literally when he would fly, he would steal some woman's luggage and then take it home to dress up in it. And the only reason he got busted is because one of them, he stole some designer lady's things. And she's like, that was my one-of-a-kind dress. Here's a picture of it. And that's how they caught him. See, the CNN host said she has never heard of this. Insane.
It's all over the internet. It's all over. He was uncharged.
But the question is, this is unrelated to the people
that are
overseeing
racist
nuclear
from-
weapons being fired. And Elon Musk himself said, we're moving so fast, of course there will be mistakes. The question is, you know, some of these mistakes are really high stakes. Accidentally firing people overseeing
Ma'am,
nuclear weapons. Do you see that point?
Humans will make mistakes, ma'am, but currently these are bloated programs. You have no-show employees that are angry that they're having to go back to work, that they've moved, and they're not.
No
even
one's
in the
disagreeing.
districts of
There's
where their
bloat and
original
waste.
Jobs were.
No one's disagreeing
Well,
with
then
that.
why are y'all not exposing it? Have y'all even talked about, hey, Mozambique, we sent them $10 million for circumcisions? I mean, goodness gracious, ma'am. Americans are paying
We've been covering at
of their
length
salaries.
where the money is
No,
going
you
to.
haven't. All y'all do is run down Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and you continuously do this, and that's why your ratings are in the tank, ma'am. You
All
need
right,
to jump on
Congressman
board
Tim
with this
Burchett, we're
thing.
going to leave it
America
there.
is tired.
I do appreciate your time coming on.
Now, if you're somebody like Breeder J who watches that, and it was funny, I think it was Fally said something earlier, like, I like to watch it because I like to see the mental, they didn't use the R word, but like the mental incapacity. Like, and I'm gonna rip on my dad for a sec. My dad watches CNN. He's older now. He had some surgeries, not real mobile. He's sitting there watching this, and he's watching like CNN. And yeah, what happened, what she's talking about, Elon, they went in, they fired a ton of people. They fired a handful they shouldn't have. You know, this is a 30-second thing. Yeah, we fired these people we shouldn't have. What do we do to make sure we get them back and don't fire them again? But when you're firing thousands of people, this just in, folks, that's going to happen. And like they devote an entire section to talking about this handful of people they fired that they shouldn't, that Elon came out and said, we shouldn't have fired them. We're going to reach out. We're going to get them back or get somebody in those jobs. And that's all CNN wants to talk about. They don't go through that 5-minute clip of Trump going down all the stupid things we're spending money on and say, why are we spending money on that? And shout out to Burchett for calling him out.
And he doesn't play defense once. This is the only way to handle this. You don't have to apologize for anything. Make them defend their position. But Jason, this just into, and again, this is what they do. They take a kernel of truth and they just blow it up out of proportion. Were they fired? Yes. Were our nukes ever like in danger of not being managed or watched? Like, you think there were 0 people at a facility and something's just going to launch on its own? Like, yeah, dudes were fired. And yes, there were still systems and other people in place. So it was not apocalyptic what happened. And yeah, they're going to make mistakes. I would rather they make mistakes and gut half the federal government than let everything exist as it is. So again, always dishonest. But I wanted to play that clip just for Breeder J especially, to see how CNN is just lying to you about what is happening.
Well, and it's fascinating, too, because here's this argument that Democrats make, right? Like kind of their approach to it. We can't cut the federal government because, look, we fired these 5 people we shouldn't. So the other 50,000 people we fired that we can't defend, we need to like not do that because of this one thing, right? And it's funny, I kind of got in that debate online about some of the transgender stuff, and they're talking like, there's intersex people. It's like less than 0.5% of people are intersexed, right? But they're going to make the argument that we need to upset our entire civilization for that 0.5%. No, folks, that's not how it works. Like, that doesn't make any sense in the real world.
0 cents.
0 cents.
Yay, Paul Reese writes, go to splitrockcoffee.com, discount Todd10. There it is, folks. That is why Jason and I are able to speak 1,000 miles an hour and just go for an hour and a half solid here because of our Split Rock Coffee addiction at this point. But thanks for watching, Paul. Thanks for being a subscriber. All right, we do have time, Jason. Do you want to get to Cluey before we Rumble only this? Or do you want to do Cluey on Rumble?
I think, yeah, maybe let's play the Cluey video, and then over on Rumble only, we'll give some of the history of Chris Cluey, because he is a Minnesotan like us, too.
He is, unfortunately. But you know what? We live in a state of Chris Cluey's as it is. So, all right, with that, folks, I think we're going to play the video, and then we're going to transition over to, I hate to use the word transition now too, Jason, but we're going to transition over to Rumble only. So we're going to play the video. We'll transition over. If you are on Facebook, last reminder here, head over to Rumble, go to the American Tribune. That is our channel. That's where the broadcast is still going to be live. Otherwise, Jason, man, Facebook was awesome today. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for commenting. Hope to see you over on Rumble. Again, search out the American Tribune. You can follow the channel. I think we're up to like 2,500 followers or something. So got a nice little community going over there, and always looking to grow, obviously. But here we go. Here is Chris Kluwe. Jason and I will comment on the other side.
Former Minnesota Vikings punter.
Unfortunately, it's clear that this council does not listen, so instead I'm going to take my time to say what MAGA has stood for these past 3 weeks. MAGA stands for trying to erase trans people from existence. MAGA stands for resegregation and racism. MAGA stands for censorship and book bans. MAGA stands for firing air traffic controllers while planes are crashing. MAGA stands for firing the people overseeing our nuclear arsenal. MAGA stands for firing military veterans and those serving them at the VA, including canceling research on veteran suicide. MAGA stands for cutting funds to education, including for disabled children. MAGA is profoundly corrupt, unmistakably anti-democracy, and most importantly, MAGA is explicitly a Nazi movement. You may have replaced a swastika with a red hat, but that is what it is. I will now engage in the time-honored American tradition of peaceful civil disobedience.
Get out.